On October 15, 2025, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga died at the age of 80 years while receiving treatment in India. The news of his death shocked the whole country, with millions of Kenyans mourning his death and paying tribute to a life well lived. Over the years, so many good and bad things have been said about Raila, but the questions I want to try to answer in this video is who was Raila as a person, and what can we learn from his life's story? Raila Odinga was born on January 7, 1945 in Maseno Nyanza province, which is present-day Kisumu County. His parents were Mary Juma Odinga and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, in whom Raila was the last born of Jaramogi's first wife. His father was Kenya's first vice president, who served under President Kenyatta from 1964 up to 1966. As a son of a vice president, Raila was fortunate enough to get the best education that Kenya had to offer. After completing high school in 1962, at age 17, his father sent him to the communist side of East Germany, where he was admitted to the Technical College of Magdeburg, which is now a part of Otto von Guericke University. Odinga pursued mechanical engineering and later graduated with a master's degree in 1970 at just age 25. After completing his tertiary levels, Odinga returned to Kenya and founded East African Spectre, which is a company that manufactures liquid petroleum gas cylinders. At this time, it's when Raila's journey in public service began. Just 4 years after founding East African Spectre, Raila was appointed as Group Standards Manager of KEBS in 1974, a position which he held for another 4 years, before being appointed as Deputy Director of the company in 1978. Since Kenya gained independence from the British in 1963, Kenya was under a one-party rule. By the late 60s and early 70s, a section of Kenyans led by Raila's father started to agitate for multipartyism. This eventually led to a fallout between Jaramogi and Kenyatta, where Kenyatta fired Jaramogi as his vice president and later detained him for almost 2 years together with other multi-party activists. After Kenyatta's death in 1978, Daniel Moi, who was Kenya's vice president during the time of his death, succeeded Kenyatta to become Kenya's second president.
Mimi, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote, na kwamba nitaihifadhi, nitalinda na kuitetea katiba ya Kenya kwa mujibu wa sheria iliyowekwa. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie.
By the early 80s, Raila had started to work in the University of Nairobi, where he was a lecturer in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. The campus had become a base for multi-party activism. Students were very vocal and critical of the government of the day, terming it as authoritarian. Raila had become a leading part of the movement, together with people like James Orengo. During his time at the campus, it's also when he met the love of his life, Ida, with whom they will go on to marry and have 4 kids together. In June 1982, Kenya officially became a one-party state by law. This move by the Moi regime went against everything that Raila and the university students were agitating for, and made them feel that the prospects of Kenya becoming a democracy was far-fetched. On August 1, 1982, just 2 months after Kenya became a one-party state, a section of junior officers of the Kenya Air Force, led by Senior Private Hezekiah Ochuka, tried to overthrow President Moi's government. The attempted coup was quickly quashed by the army, that left more than 100 soldiers and almost 200 civilians dead. The attempted coup quickly turned Moi from a part-time authoritarian to a full-time dictator. The Moi regime went hard on all those who participated in the coup and those who were suspected of aiding the coup plotters. A person like Ochuka, who was the leading figure of the failed coup, would later be hanged together with 5 other military officers in 1987 at the Committee Maximum prison after spending years in hiding. Most of those who were detained for having been suspected of aiding the coup plotters were mostly journalists, university students, and lecturers from the University of Nairobi. Raila, together with his father, were alleged to have aided the coup plotters. Jaramogi would be put under house arrest for 1 year and was later released due to lack of any evidence against him. For Raila, the Moi regime charged him with treason, but the charges were later dropped due to lack of any evidence, and then he was detained without trial for 6 years. During his time in detention, Raila underwent so much torture behind the bars of Shimolatewa and Committee Maximum. According to his own accounts in his autobiography, The Flame of Freedom, he was subjected to repeated beatings, including being hit with wooden sticks. He was also subjected to disorientation through the use of blindingly bright lights, especially at Nyayo House. While in committee, he endured kwekwe, a painful method of suspension by the wrist and feet that caused immense strain and pain on his joints. In addition to the specific acts of torture, he faced sustained hardship in maximum security prisons. These included solitary confinement, poor sanitation, and starvation. Sometimes he used to be given only half-cooked ugali with sloppy undercooked thin vegetable soup. According to Koigi Wamwere, who was a fellow detainee, he told in an interview with Citizen that Raila used to be subjected to worse torture than his fellow detainees. He said that Raila's face used to be hammered with a chair as a part of the torture. This left a lifelong impact on his eyes. That is why Raila always carried a handkerchief to wipe his watery eyes. Raila's period in detention did not only affect him, but also his family. His wife Ida faced government surveillance and control during the whole 6 years. Her, together with Raila's family members, were denied visits or even information regarding on Raila's condition. According to Raila, his most painful experience while in detention was when the government withheld the news of his mother's death in 1984 for 2 months and prevented him from attending the funeral.
My brother had asked that I should be allowed to go and bury my mother, but they were telling me 3 months later, yet they received the telegram immediately that my mother had passed on. Okay.
Were you allowed for the burial?
Never. I mean, they're telling me 3 months after the event. So how would you attend the burial?
Odinga was finally released on June 21, 1991, and later fled the country to Norway in October, amid indications that the government was attempting to assassinate him. While in exile, a lot of local and international pressure, especially from the US and UK, was mounting on Moi to give in to the demands of multipartyism. In December of 1991, Moi finally gave in to the demands. He ordered Parliament to repeal Section 2A of the then Constitution that had made Kenya a one-party state since 1982. In 1992, as the country was preparing to hold its first multi-party general election in December, Raila returned to Kenya in February and joined his father's political party and ran for the MP seat for Langata constituency, which he won by defeating Kanu's Philip Liki. 2 years later, sad news hit the Odinga family when Mzee Jaramogi passed while receiving treatment for a heart attack at the Aga Khan Hospital in Kisumu. Raila's father died aged 82.
For the light has gone out of our lives and there is darkness everywhere. I do not know what to say, let alone how to say it. Our beloved Jaramogi, Baba as we knew him, is no more.
In 1997, Raila began his long quest for the presidency. By this time, he was aged 52. The long years he spent while in detention had made him popular, especially within the Luo community, and most Luo saw him as the political successor of his father. Raila finished third in the 1997 general election, coming behind Moi and Kibaki. After the 1997 election, Raila made a political move that shocked both his supporters and opponents. Odinga decided to join President Moi's government by merging his party of NDP with that of KANU, where he was later made Secretary General of the ruling party and was given a position in Moi's cabinet as Energy Minister. Now, the reason as to why this was shocking was because Moi was the same man who had detained Raila without trial for 6 years. And now all of a sudden Raila decided to work for the same man who wanted him dead 6 years prior. This move did not make any sense whatsoever, especially to his supporters. I mean, I am 100% sure that even President Moi was also surprised. The reason as to why I think Raila made this move was that he saw that Moi had a strong grip on power, and even trying to challenge him in the ballot seemed impossible because he had the ability to skew votes in his favor, and there wasn't anything that anyone could do about it. Raila basically applied the philosophy of if you can't beat them, join them.
Niko na shida na chama cha Ford Kenya. Nilijiuzulu, nikawacha chama, nikajiuzulu kwa bunge, nikarudi kwa wananchi.
As the 2002 election was nearing, the constitution barred Moi from seeking a third term. This was because of the 1991 amendment that brought back multi-party politics. In the ruling party of KANU, there was stiff competition within party elites, as they were all literally trying to win presidential endorsement favor from President Moi. The competition was among Raila, Saitoti, Kalonzo, Mudavadi, and Modi Awori. To the surprise of all, Moi never picked any of them. Instead, he decided to handpick Uhuru Kenyatta as his successor.
Nikaona kwamba yule ambaye anaweza kuendelea kupeleka wananchi kama vile mimi ningependelea wananchi kuongozwa ni Uhuru Kenyatta.
As the son of the first president, not much was known about Uhuru. KANU members only saw him as dynasty privilege. People like Saitoti and Modi Awori, who were long-time confidants of Moi, saw this as a betrayal. What then followed was a massive exodus of KANU members, led by Saitoti, Raila, and Modi. They then flocked to the opposition that was led by Kibaki and formed NAC, the National Rainbow Coalition. Amid fears that the new opposition would fail to rally behind a candidate, Odinga declared Kibaki Tosha, fully endorsing Mwai Kibaki as the coalition flag bearer for the presidency. What then followed was a landslide victory for Kibaki in the December 2002 election that officially ended Moi's 24-year grip on power and 39 years of KANU's leadership.
Mimi Mwai Kibaki naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu wa Jamhuri ya Kenya na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote, na kwamba nitahifadhi, nitailinda na kuitetea katiba ya Kenya kwa mujibu wa sheria ilivyowekwa. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie.
The inauguration of Kibaki as Kenya's third president marked a new dawn for Kenya. A lot of Kenyans were optimistic that the new government would introduce the much-needed change. As part of the NAC Memorandum of Understanding, Kibaki and Raila had agreed that Kenya needed a new constitution that would trim the powers of the president, so as there could not be a future Moi. The MOU proposed the creation of a powerful prime minister position that would keep the president in check. Unfortunately, Kibaki had his own plans. During the constitutional building, Kibaki proposed a constitution that gave more powers to the president and greatly weakened the new position of prime minister. After Raila found that Kibaki had usurped the MOU, the cabinet was then divided into two: those who were for, led by President Kibaki, and those who were against, led by Raila, who was the Minister of Roads, Public Works and Housing. The proposed constitution was then subjected to a nationwide referendum in 2005. After months of vigorous campaigns by the two sides, Kibaki lost to the no vote with a margin of 1 million votes. Most of those who voted yes were from Kibaki's Central Province, while most of those who voted no were from the other 7 provinces. A day after Kibaki lost the referendum vote, he went berserk on his whole cabinet. He fired Raila together with his cabinet allies. He did this to show how disgruntled he was for the loss, and it also exposed how unpopular Kibaki was.
Accordingly, in accordance with the powers conferred upon me under the Constitution of Kenya, I have directed that the offices of all ministers and all assistant ministers become vacant. Consequently, the occupants of the said offices cease to hold their respective offices with the immediate effect.
The outcome of the 2005 referendum would be the precursor of how the 2007 election would turn out. Months leading to the December 2007 general election, there was a lot of tribal tensions within the country. A lot of hatred had been brewed against Kibaki's ethnic group of the Kikuyu. The opposition led by Raila's ODM pushed the 41 versus 1 tribe narrative. The narrative was based on a widespread perception that Kibaki's administration had entrenched tribalism and primarily governed in the interest of his own community, in the expense of the other 41 Kenyan tribes. When the day of voting arrived, the election was voted based on ethnic lines. The presidential vote was a two-horse race between Kibaki's Party of National Unity, aka the Kikuyus, and Raila's ODM, aka the 41 tribes. After the vote tally was completed by the Electoral Commission, Kibaki was pronounced as the winner of the presidential vote, defeating Raila with a margin of 231,728 votes.
9 candidates contested this election. The results conveyed to the Commission by returning officers through the statutory forms, Form 16, the one I was showing you, this form, are as follows. This form are as follows. Honorable Moi Kibaki, 4,584,721. 4,584,721. Mr. Kukubo Nixon, 5,927. Honorable Kenneth Matiba, 8,046. Honorable Kalonzo, 879, 903. Bishop Pius Mwangi, 9,667. Joseph Ngacha, 21,171. David Ngede, 5,976. Honorable Raila Odinga, 4,352,993. 4,352,993. Rajput Nazlin, 8,624. This means Honorable Moi Kibaki is the winner. The Commission therefore declares Honorable Moi Kibaki as the President of Kenya.
What then followed was what is described as one of the lowest moments in Kenya's history. After the results were announced the same night, Kibaki went on and hurriedly swore in himself as president, with the full backing of the police and the military.
Mwai Kibaki, naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote, na kwamba nitaihifadhi, nitailinda na kuitetea katiba ya Kenya kwa mujibu wa sheria iliyowekwa. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu unisaidie.
Violence within Nairobi and across opposition-dominated regions erupted. Every Kenyan knew that Kibaki had stolen the vote. The hatred that was there for the Kikuyus skyrocketed to an all-time high. A lot of the Kikuyus who resided in opposition strongholds, for example in the Rift Valley and areas within Nairobi, were brutally massacred. Machetes were used to dismember all those who were identified as Kikuyus. People who sought refuge in churches were torched alive, leaving burnt corpses of family members piled up against each other. The same also happened to Raila's ethnic people of the Luo, who were living in Kibaki's stronghold.
My message to him is that he should be a gentleman and accept the verdict of the people, pack up from State House and go home. Because the people of Kenya will not tolerate this 5 years again. They now have nothing but contempt for him, having lost an election and he wants to rule. There's no difference between him and Idi Amin or any other military dictator who assumed power through the barrel of the gun.
According to Richard Onyonka, who was a part of ODM in 2007, revealed to TV47 that the moment Raila realized his victory had been stolen, fellow party members were pressing him to start a civil war. But Raila stood his ground, choosing a higher moral ground of not avenging, so as the bloodshed would stop.
We are at Pentagon House, which was around Kilimani. You have the we have won elections, MPs and other people.
Yes.
We have now gone to see what is really, and it was very dangerous because guys were killing each other. There was gunshots everywhere.
Yes.
As we go to Pentagon House, every single person, I remember it was about not Najib. I think it could have, Najib, Madam, former Governor Machakos, Mama Ngilu.
Charity Ngilu.
Yes. And I can't remember a third person, but today I confirmed that Franklin Bett was with us. And everybody told Raila, let's fight. And there are certain people we are going to kill. And you are not going to be a coward. In fact, 90% of the people there insulted Raila. Everybody was there, except Charity and I think Najib. There were about 2 or 3 people. There were about 14 people in that room. And Raila stood and looked at everybody in the eye. And that's when, for me, I said, this guy is a bit different. He said, those people that you want me to go and kill are actually Kenyans. And some of you have mentioned that go and bring the boys from Kibera so that they can come and kill these other ethnic community that has taken our leadership and everything. And Raila said, if any of you want power, just know this, if you don't have the instruments of power, you are just going to have a bloodbath. So let's take our losses. We know what has happened. We understand the scenario. The courts have pronounced themselves. Let's move on. and everybody shut up. Some people walked out, some banged the doors, and that was it. To me, that is when I actually understood that Raila was a statesman.
He always took the higher road.
That there is always the higher moral ground. There is a higher position a leader must take.
Indeed.
And it cannot be for self-aggrandizement.
By 2008, the UN sent a special envoy to Kenya, led by the former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, in a bid to quell the violence and the displacement of civilians. A power-sharing deal was then fostered between Kibaki and Raila that led to the formation of the Grand Coalition government in April of 2008. Kibaki retained his position as president, while Raila was given the new created position of Prime Minister, making him the second person in Kenya's history to hold the position.
Mimi Raila Amolo Odinga naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote, na kwamba nitahifadhi.
After the aftermath of 2007, Raila and Kibaki strived to work together to bring cohesion and unity among Kenyans. Post-2007 Kenya was a country that was greatly divided because of tribalism. A lot of injustices had been carried out, and the Grand Coalition government aimed at introducing the much-needed reforms. This involved the creation of a new progressive constitution that both Kibaki and Raila supported. The August 2010 referendum saw a landslide victory for the proposed constitution that marked a new political dawn for Kenya. The contents of the 2010 constitution introduced the much-needed electoral reforms, so as there could not be a repeat of 2007. This led to the creation of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. It also reduced the powers of the presidency by giving independence to the three arms of government. It also introduced land reforms that aimed at solving the land grabbing that happened post-2007. Devolution was also introduced that dissolved the 8 provinces and created the 47 county governments. This decentralized the national government, bringing government closer to the people. Raila maintained his post of Prime Minister until 2013, since the new constitution had no provision for the office. Under the new constitution, Raila once again vied for the presidency in the 2013 general election. His main competitor was Uhuru Kenyatta, whom he defeated together with Kibaki in 2002. Because of the events of 2007, the newly created IEBC ensured that the election was conducted in accordance with the guidelines of the constitution. Raila ended up losing the election to Uhuru with a margin of close to 1 million votes. Raila, through his lawyers, then submitted a petition to the Supreme Court disputing Uhuru's victory. After the court hearing, the court upheld Uhuru Kenyatta's victory, which Raila respected, and even congratulated Uhuru Kenyatta for his win.
And in this regard, I wish the President-elect, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, and his team well.
The next general election was due in 2017. Just like in 2013, Raila's main opponent was Kenyatta, who was seeking a second and final term in office. After months of aggressive campaigns, the vote was cast in August that year. After the votes were tallied by the IEBC under its new chairman, Wafula Chebukati, Uhuru was once again pronounced as the winner. Raila once again, through his lawyers, submitted a petition to the Supreme Court disputing Uhuru's win, claiming that forces associated with the president had hacked into the IEBC servers and tampered with its database. The then Supreme Court was headed by the 66-year-old Chief Justice David Maraga. After the hearing was concluded, the court in a 4-2 decision annulled the presidential results and ordered a new presidential election to be held within 60 days. The reason behind the ruling was that the IEBC failed to conduct the election in accordance with the guidelines of the Constitution.
That the presidential election held on 8th August 2017 was not conducted in accordance with the Constitution and the applicable law, rendering the declared results invalid, null, and void. Number 2, a declaration is hereby issued that the third respondent was not validly elected and declared as the president-elect, and that the declaration is invalid, null, and void. Third, an order is hereby issued directing the first respondent to organize and conduct a fresh presidential election in strict conformity with the Constitution and the applicable election laws within 60 days of the determination under Article 143 of the Constitution.
Raila described it as a historic ruling not only for Kenya, but also for Africa.
Indeed, it's a very historic day for the people of Kenya, and by extension, for the people of the continent of Africa. For the first time in history of African democratization, a ruling has been made by a court nullifying irregular elections of a president. This is a precedent-setting ruling.
Despite respecting the ruling, President Kenyatta was very furious. He termed the ruling as an act of 4 people who usurped the will of the people. He made his anger towards Chief Justice Maraga known publicly, where he famously stated that we shall revisit, which was an open declaration of war against the judiciary.
And I have always said, we have a problem with our judiciary, but regardless, we respect, but we shall revisit. We shall respect, but we shall revisit this agenda. Oh yes, we shall.
As the IEBC was preparing to conduct a repeat presidential election in October, Raila, as usual, surprised everyone by declaring that he wouldn't run, citing that his votes would once again be stolen because the IEBC had not made the needed electoral forms. Despite declaring that he wouldn't run, his name still appeared on the ballot. Uhuru went on to win the repeat presidential election, thus securing his second and final term in office.
I, Uhuru Kenyatta,
do swear that I will always truly and diligently serve the people and the Republic of Kenya, that I will diligently discharge my duties and perform my functions in the office of President of the Republic of Kenya
By the end of 2017, tensions were very high within the country. Since Raila and his supporters had boycotted the repeat election, Raila refused to recognize the legitimacy of the results, terming it as sham. After Uhuru was sworn in, Raila pushed the narrative among his supporters of also swearing in himself.
Nyinyi Jubilee, musubutu kuapisha Kenyatta, na sisi tunaapisha!
The following year, on January 30, 2018, Raila once again did the unthinkable. He staged a swear-in ceremony in Nairobi's Uhuru Park grounds, where he named himself as the People's President of the Republic of Kenya. A lot of ignorant people thought that Raila was guilty of treason, but Raila committed no offense, This is because he never declared himself as the President of the Republic of Kenya, but as the People's President. In the following months, there was a lot of confusion on what will happen next. But Raila being Raila, he once again did the unthinkable. He met with Uhuru Kenyatta a month after his swearing in and made the famous political handshake. This was his third handshake since joining Kenyan politics. Now, why did Raila decide to reconcile with President Kenyatta? Firstly, it was to help calm down the political tension that was there. Peace and assurance were much needed by Kenyans. People wanted to return to their day-to-day life. Secondly, it served as a political deal between the two men. The deal was that Raila was to agree to let go of the events of 2017 and give Uhuru the much-needed peace he wanted so as he could continue to govern the country. In return, Uhuru was to support Raila's presidential bid in the next general election. In 2022, just 5 years after the handshake, that's exactly what happened. Uhuru openly backed Raila's presidential bid and campaigned for him against Raila's fiercest opponent, William Ruto, who was Uhuru's deputy for 10 years. When Raila was campaigning for the 2022 presidential election, he was 77 years old. Most people saw this as his final try to win the presidency. And since Raila had the backing of a sitting president, whom Raila counted on wooing Mount Kenya voters, his supporters thought that he would finally win. Unfortunately, for the 5th time, Raila failed to win the presidential vote. He ended up losing to William Ruto with just a small margin of 233,000 votes.
I, William Samoei Ruto,
in full realization of the high calling I assume as President
of Kenya
of the Republic of Kenya,
do swear
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Kenya.
What I am sure of is that the loss made Raila together with his supporters feel a little bit heartbroken. But Raila, being the fighter he has always been, he continued to press for accountability as he has always done. Raila then led a series of economic protests in 2023, pressing the Ruto government to fulfill the promises it had promised Kenyans during campaign. In 2024, the Ruto government nominated Raila as its candidate for the chairperson of the African Union Commission. Raila spent majority of his time in 2024 trying to get African heads of state to vote for him. A report released in 2025 indicated that his campaign costed Kenyan taxpayers 524 million shillings. Unfortunately, Raila lost the bid to Djibouti's Mohamed Ali Yusuf. In March 2025, Raila's ODM party and Ruto's UDA signed a political agreement of working together in governing the country. This was because of the Gen Z protest of last year that threatened the stability of the Ruto administration. Raila revealed that it was Ruto who approached him for political support, so as his administration could not collapse. In late 2025, Raila was out of the public eye for a while. He had gone to India to receive medical treatment. On October 15, the country woke up to the shocking news that he had passed. What then followed was an announcement by the government that a state funeral would be held for Raila. Kenyans then got an opportunity to view his body and say the last bye-byes. On October 19, Raila was finally buried next to his father at his residence in Bondo. Now, it is very hard for us as outsiders to fully understand who truly Raila was. The only people who knew Raila fully was his family, his wife Ida, and the children, Winnie, Junior, Rosemary, and the late Fidel. Personally for me, I can only use his political life to try and understand a small part of him. What I can say is that he was a brave man, based on the experiences he went through while in detention. I can also say he loved Kenyans, based on how he handled the rigging of 2007. I can also say that he was a man who never gave up, based on how he relentlessly pursued the top seat despite never getting it. I can also say he was controversial, based on the 2018 swearing in. I can also say he was a disciplined man, based on how he never had any personal scandals. And also, I can say he was loved by his supporters, based on how they consistently voted for him in all his political life. Raila was a lot of things to a lot of people, but what we can all agree on is that he played a huge role in shaping the politics of this country, whether in a good way or in a bad way. May Jaramogi's son, Jacom, Tinka, Aguambo, Baba, rest in eternal peace in Christ Jesus.
The king is dead, but long live the crown. Thank you.